my children's diapers.
I thought grandparent time was supposed to be so precious.
It is, and that's why I don't change diapers. I'm out playing golf. When the kid can get on a cart, let me know. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Steph Curry goes for 51.
51.
The Lakers get their first win, and David Stern is talking spicy about the Pelicans general manager.
Cheap shot.
But we begin today with the Boston Red Sox establishing their credentials once again. David Price had a second straight stellar postseason start, and 3 different Red Sox relievers pitched shutdown innings. Boston is now up 2-0 and has continued their amazing proclivity to score with 2 outs. All 4 runs last night. Wilbon, do you have confidence that your Dodgers will come back at home and make this a series?
No confidence at all, Tony. It looks like that the Red Sox are not just a better team, but perhaps a much better team.
Are you thinking sweep?
And not necessarily. You got 3 games in L.A., but I could see this thing not coming back to Boston. I could see the Red Sox winning 2 out of 3 there. All the lefty-righty guesses that you want to make, which, by the way, seem to be working against the Dodgers every time there is one of those, I don't think that that's going to overcome what is a better team, particularly if Sale and Price now, you know that 0-10 thing? Well, his team has won. No, they've won 3. He's got 3 wins now. The team has 3 wins, even though he doesn't know. I don't see that.
So I'm going to say this again. Boston, and I know you hate this because it's I-95. Boston was the best team in the majors.
They were.
Boston won 108 games in the majors. The Dodgers, a very good team, won 92. That's just too wide a gulf to overcome at this point.
We've seen that before. I mean, we've seen teams. The Mariners,
I think they're going to win
116.
Yeah, but they didn't carry it through, and they didn't even get to the World Series. And Boston has been relentless getting to the World Series. They have solved all the questions. Price was one of the questions.
Yep.
Kimbrel has been great. That was one of the questions. They've got Evaldi out there, maybe looking like Andrew Miller, and they score more than half their runs on 2 outs and very often get on 2 strikes. They look really
once again,
solid and good.
They look like not just a better team, but perhaps a much better team. And if they go out and take it away from Kershaw, as they did in Game 1, what is it that the Dodgers are supposed to rely on?
Well,
what do they have that they know they're going to get production out of?
Let me tell you what you can't rely on. You can't bring Ryan Madson in relief, and he inherits 5 runners, and all 5 in 2 games score.
It's the former Nats guy.
That's not working.
Huh?
That's not working.
You've seen that nightmare before, haven't you?
Indeed,
I thought about when Madson came out there. I knew you, if you were awake, were fuming. I knew you would be. Steph Curry interrupted the Fall Classic last night, Tony, to drop 51 on your Washington Wizards.
Not my Wizards.
They're your Wizards.
No, they're not.
In 3 quarters. Steph didn't even play in the 4th. But in those first 3, he did make 4 shots from beyond 30 feet, and he did make 11 of 16 threes. His coach, Steve Kerr, called it video game stuff. Curry himself said he took and hit some, you ever hear this phrase? Dare shots.
No.
Early. Kept trying them, kept making them. Tony, is it possible that Curry, already a 2-time MVP, is somehow better than he's already been?
This is an awesome performance. As you say, it's 51 points in 3 quarters. This is the NBA equivalent of a 2 a game, where he doesn't even play in the 4. Now, I remember a couple of years back, it's not that long ago, where John Wall of the Washington Wizards said that he and Bradley Beal were the best backcourt in the league. And that would include, apparently, Curry and Klay Thompson.
Nobody's buying that.
Okay, so last night the 2 of them scored 36, and Curry had 51 by himself.
18 in a row in the first quarter.
John Wall should have been suspended for saying that. He should have been suspended for thinking that.
Steph Curry is the only person, I believe, in pro basketball history to win unanimously the MVP award. And I know that came with some controversy, but he won it unanimously. And you think, okay, that's his high water mark. Like, I mean, Steve Nash was great. He won back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah, but
and you thought, okay, well, that's his high water mark. And it was.
Curry's on the best team. Curry's on the best team.
But Curry, Tony, Steve Kerr said that he thought physically, and with this being Curry's 10th year, and he knows the league better than he's ever known it, that it's possible he is better than he was in his unanimous MVP.
Well, I certainly think he's helped by having Durant on the team now. I mean, I certainly think that takes pressure off.
But he had Durant the last 2 years.
And they've won both of these years.
Yeah.
I'm going to use a snake word, slither, the way he gets around. You cannot get in front of him.
No.
He is always in a position to get this shot off. And I have to concede this. I was wrong about him. When he came into the league, I thought, well, he's so thin. He'll never last in the league. He's a great player who now is awesome. There have been, I believe, 13 times in the history of the NBA with the three-point shot that someone has made 11 or more in a single game. He has 6 of them. 6.
Did you see him win an MVP again?
Sure I could.
One more time?
The best player on the best team can win that award. Yeah. The Los Angeles Lakers finally got their first win last night after opening up 0-3. They won at Phoenix, and LeBron James wasn't even their leading scorer. He was behind Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee, incredible as that sounds. The Lakers won by 18 points, but Devin Booker, who I know is your boy,
I love him,
went out with a hamstring pull quite late in the third quarter. So, Wilbon, does it really count as a win for the Lakers if Booker was out at the end?
Let me just sort of recap a little bit for you, since I know you were 3 to 4 hours asleep by the time that particular hammy was pulled and he limped off. He said, Coach, you could read his lips.
I
was watching.
I saw that this morning.
I think the Laker lead was 22 at the time.
18.
Was it 18? Okay.
18.
At that moment, I go click back to Steph Curry. And I was watching that game because I thought the Lakers would have to win. So, no, it had nothing to do with Booker going out. They were going to beat the Suns anyway. The Suns aren't ready for that. When LeBron James and the Lakers, desperate as they were, see a pigeon, they have to take advantage of that, and they were going to do that last night.
So I'm grateful that the Lakers won because you can't get to 50 if you don't get to 1.
That's right.
But I do think what is going to be most interesting about the Lakers, and I don't know necessarily that this will happen, but it has happened enough times that I wonder about it. When LeBron will decide to cast off 3 or 4 guys on that team and bring in 3 or 4 new guys. That's
not going to happen.
Why? It's happened in Cleveland.
Does it look like Cleveland? Does Magic Johnson look like Cleveland?
No, but I believe that Magic Johnson and LeBron will be of the same mind.
Okay, maybe. But the point is, you got to see where this goes. I know I look at guys like Michael Beasley, and I go, really? Like, really? I mean, even Lance Stevenson, people can say that. But LeBron was excited about Lance Stevenson. So I don't think
because
that 3 months in,
that means that 82 games he can blow in his ear because he's right there as a teammate.
So I don't a cast-off or 2. I don't see a remake of 3 or 4 guys on the fly, like coming over the hockey boards in the Lakers season.
Because they've had that.
I don't see that.
See, I mean, I think
the Cavaliers have.
I think if they if they go 7-15 or something like that's what I'm saying.
Let me just say this. If they go 7-15, we're not going to be talking about 50. We're going to be talking about 8 seed. Can they do that? Because these other teams are too good.
Well, you may at some point be talking about whether the coach should become an investment banker and get in another business.
Cold on Luke.
That's happened before, too.
I like Luke. We got to get in the Wayback Machine for this next story, Tony, and travel back to 2011 when David Stern vetoed a trade that would have sent Chris Paul to the Lakers to play with Kobe Bryant. In a long Sports Illustrated piece on Stern, the former NBA commissioner doubled down on that veto, which you and I crushed on a daily basis for months.
I did.
And called the New Orleans GM, Dell Demps, quote, a lousy GM, close quote, and added that Demps, may lose Anthony Davis. Tony, do you understand Stern digging in his heels all these years later?
No, but I'm grateful for it. I was wondering whose side was I on in this, and I would have said, I'm not really on anybody's side. I'm just so happy and hope this continues. I hope the mudslinging goes on for a long time. The fact that Stern called him a lousy GM and the fact that New Orleans then came back with a statement that indicated they felt that Adam Silver was a great man and that David Stern was an old goat completely out of touch with what was going on. Yeah. This is a godsend. This is something to talk about because what David Stern did by not allowing Chris Paul to go to the Lakers,
get to your real
it was criminal. Because it changed the path of the league.
I called him the Hornets GM every day for half a season. It was absurd.
Well,
I love David Stern. I think we both think that in the pantheon of great commissioners,
he's great.
He's right there. He's right up there. Okay,
great.
So let's get that out of the way. There were 2 things to me that sort of were stains on David Stern's unparalleled career as a commissioner. That veto, keeping Chris Paul out of a Laker uniform.
And putting him in a Clippers uniform.
And suspending the Suns to the point where they were crippled against the San Antonio Spurs in a series I thought the Suns would have won and won in the finals against LeBron in 2007. So these things, David Stern still angrily doubling down.
I want to go to something else.
And Dell Demps, come on. Dell Demps has a team which could finish second in the East.
And they also, by the way,
Pelicans.
And they could lose Anthony Davis because he could want to go somewhere else. Like LeBron wanted to go somewhere else and Kevin Durant wanted to go. I mean, those things
in the West. I said the East, in the West.
The thing that happens In praising Adam Silver, as New Orleans has done, I'm just going to say this. I know this is going to get you crazy.
What?
That NCAA trial that just concluded,
right,
that would never have happened. The villain in this piece, to me, is Adam Silver for this reason only. The one and done. Don't change it in 3 years. Change it tonight. Stop the restraint of trade on people who want to play.
Here's my only problem with you getting upset about. That story is nothing. I don't care how many guilty verdicts they throw down. It doesn't impede anything in the way on the path of college basketball.
Let him in.
It does
Let him
nothing.
play, Mike.
Villain? Who's a villain?
Let
the story
him play.
barely registered.
Let them play. Let's take a break. Coming up, we will have Steve Young on. We're going to ask him what the Cowboys need to do to ensure a quarterback and the best man at my wedding.
Wow.
Steve Young.
He must have been like 9 years old.
Let's start with
this. It was unbelievable.
Well, you know what? He had a nice tux on. It was really good.
All right.
We'll go to the big trade for Amari Cooper. If you're Jason Garrett and Dak Prescott, you've got a week off. Is there a way to use Amari Cooper to improve things immediately?
Yes, absolutely, Tony. In many ways, if you think about the field, where the Dallas Cowboys are struggling is outside the numbers, all the way to the goal line, right? And then that deep part of the middle of the field. And if you put that all together, it makes it like a horseshoe. And that you don't need to be an expert in route running. You don't need to say, hey, there's intricacies to the timing of the post route or the go route or the back shoulder fade. He needs to start to dominate what we call the horseshoe. That's where Jerry Rice dominated. That's why we call him Mr. Ed. You know, it's like the horseshoe. Anyway, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. He can dominate right away and make a big difference.
I heard Jerry Rice call a lot of things.
Great.
Mr. Ed was
that's
one of them.
great.
Blake Bortles gets the start against the Eagles, even though he was benched on Sunday. And, Steve, if there's one thing about his game or a couple of things about his game, you would say, Mr. Bortles, focus on this. What would they be?
I mean, come on. If you know those backyard pools you have where you fill them up and let's say they get a hole, right? It starts to leak. Blake Bortles, for some reason, when it starts to leak, he goes and pokes 3 more holes in the pool. It's like, no, you cannot cause more damage. And it's like it feeds on itself. And he has a chance to be a very good player. And you see games where he's like, wow, if he plays like that, they can win a Super Bowl. And it's true. But what about the games where it's like he can't stop the bleeding? To me, as a player, I always knew when it wasn't my day, and I was like, I'm going to go neutral. I'm not going to try to dominate, but I'm not going to be the reason we lose. He's got to be able to stop that bleeding.
Let's get to something close to Wilbon's heart. He has bashed Mitch Trubisky for a year and a half.
No, I didn't.
You hated that they traded up.
Trading up to get him. Get it right now.
Suddenly, Wilbon loves Trubisky.
3 straight great games.
Should Wilbon be sold on him right now?
Look, to me, early on, especially this season, he looked robotic. The reason why he was robotic is because he has this perfectionism in him. He wants to be perfect as a quarterback. I want to make every read. I want to be just right. I want to do everything. And when you're like that, you become robotic, and you can't. So much of quarterback is artistry. It's not science. And so he was trying to be the ultimate scientist. And okay, great. But he has so much capability, you saw it last week, to be an artist. So I think as he gets more free and loses a little bit of his perfectionism, we're going to see a very good player. I am more than ever, I guess, obviously, because of the way he's been playing. I think there's a huge upside for Mitch Trubisky. I'm a big fan.
See, we're on the same page on this. Early in the year, he wasn't there.
You wanted to... burn down the stadium when they drafted him.
You're not paying attention. You're really not. You're plugged into the Redskins and all your stuff.
Stop it.
We have seen so much offensive innovation, Steve. It's crazy how much just offense is out there, new offense and more offense. Are we ever going to see the pendulum swing back to see defensive innovation?
It's tough, Michael. If you think about the rules committee is not in their favor. I mean, there's no... You need rule. I mean, what happens? All the rules are favoring receivers and interference, favoring quarterbacks and protection. Everything's favored in the offense. So that's why the innovation comes. You can do more. The old RPOs that used to be college-like, the speed of the defense that used to be that they held you and battered you. You You couldn't play that way. Now it's opened up. We can be more college-like. So the offensive innovation has been allowed by rule. By defense, you're going to have to change the rules. You have to allow them to grab first 5 yards. You can hold them, or you have to do something to give them some advantage. Otherwise, the only thing I can imagine, Michael, is that the defensive lines and the way they do the amoeba defense, maybe they can start to, the 8 guys can just kind of, create some unique combinations or delays. I see some innovation where they fake like they're going to drop out and then they come again. There's small innovations, but for defenses, they're really hamstrung.
You're being modest, too, because you did this. You and Bill Walsh solved the 46 defense. The last truly great defensive innovation there was in pro football. You killed it, right?
It took some time. I mean, every name on that defense, Otis, I can name every face, every player. It was like, you just did not want, in fact, Jimmy Ray was a quarterback coach when I was in Tampa Bay. We're in the locker room at Soldier Field before we're going to play the 46 defense in 1986, my rookie year in Tampa. He goes, "Hey, Steve, look, you got to be careful out there. You could get hurt." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean, like hurt?" He goes, "No, like dangerous, like carried off the field. You got to be careful out there." Like, what a great pep talk that was, really.
What a great swing thought.
Whoa. Yeah, and the league said, we're not having any more of that. We're not having any more of that.
How great is that?
Dolphins-Texans tonight on Thursday Night Football. Deshaun Watson's had a partially collapsed lung and a broken rib. How the hell are you supposed to play through that as a quarterback?
Look, I know that sounds bad, and it is bad. It's so during the week, you can't even sleep. You can't breathe. It's brutal. But game time, you can shoot that area with painkiller and play pretty well, but you just pray you don't get hit again, because then you got another week where you can't sleep, you can't breathe, you can't even sit up. It's brutal. But for the game, it's weird how you hit the painkiller and you go play.
Take a shot to go to sleep. You do that.
What?
A shot to go to sleep.
Not a shot to go to sleep.
Oh.
Only if you're on TV.
No, come on. There's no way.
I'll get you out here on this. We saw you on the field last week. You're tossing halftime passes to Jerry Rice, old Mr. Ed. How did the arm feel?
The arm feels good. In fact, Jerry Rice and I had our annual charity golf tournament yesterday, and afterwards we had a little dinner and we were talking about it. And we decided we're going to do it. Well, we can do this. We're committed. I mean, I don't care. Some 56-year-old guys, we're coming back. We're doing this.
Fantastic. An exclusive awesome. Right here. As always, thank you so much.
Out of retirement, Steve Young and Jerry Rice. Way to go. Love it.
We're going to take one last break. Still to come, the NFL takes very rare action after referees missed a penalty on a Chargers touchdown.
And how much would you pay to watch Tiger and Phil play head-to-head for $9 million? None, if you're me. We're going to give you a number after the break.
Amazing, a coach says to him, you're going to get carried out. Happy time, people. Happy 47th birthday, Pedro Martinez. Sneaky young. We think of Pedro as a previous generation pitcher and one of the greatest pitchers ever. Pedro's career winning percentage, .687. Man. Third best in the post-World War II era. Pedro won Cy Youngs in Montreal and Boston, and in 1999, he pitched what most people think is his greatest game ever. He allowed one hit and struck out 17 of the World Series champion Yankees. Now it is a pleasure to see Pedro on the MLB Network and Turner during the postseason.
Cheers. Here, here. Dave Cowens and Dan Issel both turned 70 today. They played back when there was something in the NBA called low post play. You like both of them, didn't you?
They were great.
Issel, 22 points a game plus.
Happy anniversary, Kirk Cousins. On this day 3 years ago, you led the Redskins back from a 24-0 deficit to beat the Buccaneers. After that win, Cousins famously glided through the tunnel screaming, "You like that?" Cousins is with the Minnesota Vikings now after an acrimonious parting with the Redskins and a guaranteed pot of gold in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
This Sunday night, Cousins will be matched up with Drew Brees.
Drew Brees!
In the best game on the board this weekend. Wilbur, New Orleans is getting one.
That's good. Don't you think the Redskins should wear those uniforms either more often or all the time?
All the time.
That was real burgundy and gold, not maroon and yellow.
Happy trails to Hugo Cruz. The NFL has reportedly fired the official following a game in which he missed a false start by Chargers left tackle Russell Okung. The Chargers scored a touchdown on that play. FootballZebras.com says the down judge is the first official the NFL has fired in midseason during the Super Bowl era. Cruz joined the NFL in 2015.
Don't you think that officials in every sport should be up in arms about that? Whether you're an umpire or a zebra in football, basketball,
you don't think
or hockey?
they should ever be fired midseason?
I'm just saying, but if you are one of the brethren, wouldn't you be upset?
One omission, James Harden will miss the next 2 games with a mild hamstring pull. Quick to the big
Let's do it.
The Twins hired Rays coach Rocco Baldelli to be their manager. The Blue Jays will reportedly hire Rays bench coach Charlie Montoyo to be theirs. Good move.
Well, Baldelli is the youngest manager in the majors now. He's 37. The Big Ten fined Michigan State 10 large for initiating contact with Michigan players during that field march last week. That's justified, right?
So it's Bush League, not BS.
10,000.
The Bulls lost Bobby Portis for 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained MCL. Your thoughts?
Zion Williamson. You know my thoughts.
I do.
The Tiger-Phil pay-per-view match on Friday after Thanksgiving. $20 is going to cost. You still in for that?
Totally in for that. My family will hate me by then. I will hate them. I want to watch this. I hope they bet on every single shot with their own money. Last one, Celtics Thunder tonight. Will Russell Westbrook and playoff B, your boy, get their first win?
They should. The Celtics offense has been anemic. Why not win at home?
Out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts.
New Balance. I'll be your intern.